about the arithmetic operators, the logical operators. We will implement them in different examples. We will see how we can implement and use them. And usually the operators, so how do we manage them? Right. I given you one task to try. Anyone tried that? Anyone tried that task? Anyone done that task? I asked you to try. EMI related one example I asked you to try. Anyone done that? So only one submissions came. What about others? Right? Only one submissions are here. So what about others? Others, have you tried it? If you have done, if you can submit that, then I can see what the task is, how you done, what problems you are facing. Right. So we will see that. Right. Yeah. Yep. So we will see other options also, right? Now, technically, we discussed about various operators. What are the different types of operators and how do we deal with the operators? And while working with these expressions and operators, we will also see some examples depending on the requirements. Now, all the expressions and operators you have learned. So we categorized them actually, primary, secondary, and primary and the expressions. So operators are these. What are the other operators we learned is unary operators and arithmetic operators. Extra is double asterisk only, arithmetic operators. We have relational operators like less than, greater than, less than or equal, greater than or equal. So these are relational operators. Not only that, so in relational operators category, we have in and we have instance of. These also comes under the category of relational operators. In JavaScript, relational operators less than, greater than, they return a boolean true or false. And we have in and instance of. This is also relational operator. Greater than, less than, everyone knows them. No need to explain. So greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal. We will see in examples also. So what is new here is you need to understand is two operators are there. So one is in operator, another one instance operator actually. The purpose of in operator is nothing but, suppose we have product, it is an object. In that we have name, some TV, and we have some price. And important here is I need to check, is there any particular property available or not? Actually, in operator verifies, is there a property by that name or not? If there is a property by the name, then it will return true, otherwise false. That means here document.write. So we need to use like this. So is stock defined? So here we have to understand that. Is stock defined means for product, stock details are mentioned or not. So how to check it is mentioned or not? We have to simply use simply the property name. The property name is a stock. Okay, in property name is stock in which location? So product, stock in product. That means, is there any property by name stock? You are verifying, is there any property by name stock? If there is a property by name stock, it will return it. If there is a property by name stock, it will return it. Is there any property? It will return it. So technically, so if not, then it will return false. Actually, this is true or false. It will return true, otherwise false. You can observe here. So it will verify, is there a property or not by name stock. If there is no, then false. Is stock defined? False. So here, suppose I defined stock. Stock is some false or true. In stock available or not. Is stock property there or not? Stock property is there, then it will be true. That means we can verify, is there any property by that name or not? In operator is used for that. That is the reason in operator is a relational operator. So greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal, and in. In is a special operator, so which will verify whether there is a property by that particular name or not. That is what actually the purpose of in. We have another instance of operator. Instance of verifies whether it is derived from that class or not. So it verifies whether the object belongs to that particular class or not. The object belongs to that particular class or not. It verifies that. That means, for example, suppose here, later we will discuss OOP concept also. Suppose here we have a class. And the class is, suppose later we will discuss what is a class. Those OOP concepts we will learn. So we have a class. Class is some employee. Employee is a class. Now we created EMP, so our object, it is of type employee. Later you are going to learn about how to create and all. Suppose LET list is of type array. So that means, so list is array type and OBJ is employee type. Generally, when you are working with some classes, so with some objects which you haven't created, you need to work with several objects which are provided to you that come from some other sources. Those we need to verify. So whether they belong to that particular class or not. Actually, we can use instance of, that means OBJ instance of OBJ instance of employee. We are writing like this. So that means, is OBJ belongs to employee class. So it will return true or false. It will return true or false. You can see that it returns true. If I say that OBJ is array, so then it says that false, it's not array. Now if I say that OBJ is image, so it says that OBJ is not image because OBJ is employee type. That means it is derived from employee. It is employee type, so it is fine. Suppose I said a list is employee type. List is not employee type. You can see that it is false. List is from which type? it is an array type. So that means it is derived from array. Then it says that yes, it is true. Now if I say list is object, what do you say? Will it return true or false? So will it return true or false? If I say list is instance of object, what do you say? So list is instance of object. So it is true only. Why it is true? Because every complex type in JavaScript is considered as object. Even array is also an object. Every complex type is considered as an object. That is the reason if you are checking is it an object, then it returns true only. It returns true, right? So that is one basic point you need to understand, because many times this type of question asked in interviews like, so is this instance of object or is this instance of array? Primarily it is array, but array is derived from again object. That means object is the root for all. So array is an object, date is an object. So when you image is an object, all they are considered as objects only. So that is the reason we need to know that they belong to that object, right? Technically, that is what actual the concept of objects, right? That is instance of. These are relational operators. Less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal in instance of, right? Next, we have equality operators. Equality operators. Equality operators, we have double equal, triple equal, not equal, not double equal. These are equality. This is also important to understand. Actually, in JavaScript, so identical equal is important thing to understand. Suppose you see here, I said where x is equal to 10, where y is equal to 10. So now here we are defining document.write. So x equal to y, x equal to y. We want to print that result. So is x equal to y. So we want to print that result here. Okay. Now here I am verifying. So here I am verifying x equal to y, double equal. Now here the question is it true or false? Actually, x is number, y is also number, y is also number, but it is written in a string form. What double equal can do is, double equal can convert this number into the number which is present in a string form into number and verify. Suppose that means what will happen now is, suppose here it is a, it will not convert into number. But if it is number written in a string form, then even the data type is different, it will convert and compare. That is the reason this will return true. X equal to y is true. Why? Because it converts and compare. Suppose I said some a, then it is not true, it is false. But only number is there, it can convert and compare. That means double equal is used to compare two values, even their data type is not same. But we should not allow two different data types to compare. Then we can use triple equal. If I use triple equal, so double equal, you can see it is returning true. Triple equal will compare only when both types are same. it will compare only both when both types are same. If both types are same, then only it will compare. If both types are not same, it will not compare. So it is always going to be false now. Triple equal is false. So this triple equal is called identical equal. Identical equal. That means it will verify the values only when both are same data type. If they belong to different type, it will not compare. Generally, different types also compared by using double equal, we compare that. If you don't want to compare, then this is very important. That means we want to compare same types. We should not allow. Then not identical. Similarly, not equal, not identical equal. So these are the equality operators. Equality operators. And of course, we have binary logical operators. Logical operators. Logical operators, double ampersand, double or. These are logical operators. So logical and logical or, these are the logical operators. Right? How do we use these operators in different examples? We will see now. For that, we need to learn some statements also. So technically, finally, the expressions and operators in JavaScript. So major, what are those? We have primary expressions. Under primary expressions, we have this. We have function, we have class, we have function generator. We are going to learn them also, right? We have yield, so we have yield generator. So yield generator. We have async function, and we have await function. This comes under the primary expressions, and we have meta characters like square brace, like curly braces, like double slash and parenthesis. This all comes under primary expressions. Left hand side expressions, last session I told you, we have new, so we have super, we have obj, all we have rest, actually rest. We will see that. Next, other operators, unary operators like plus plus minus minus, unary operators. So and we have operator like delete, we have void, and we have type of, and we have plus minus, and we have not. Arithmetic operators, we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, and exponent. That is the new one. Relational operators, we have seen greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal, and we have in, and we have instance of. This all comes under that. Equality, we have double equal, we have triple equal, we have not equal, so not identical, all these. Logical, binary, double ampersand, and double or. We will see them, how we can implement and how we can work with them. In some examples, we will put them and we will see now, right? These are all the operators. Next important, so technically, in order to understand, after understanding about the operators, we need to know about the statements where we will use all these operations now. So JavaScript statements. We need to understand about JavaScript statements. Actually, the main purpose of statement is to control the execution flow. We can control the execution flow by using statements. Statements are used for controlling the execution flow. And JavaScript statements are actually classified into several types. So we have the statements like selection statements, selection statements, we have iteration statements, we have looping control statements, we have jump statements, and exception handling statements. Statements are classified into several types. We have selection statements, iteration statements, looping control statements, jump statements, and exception handling statements. We will see what are those and how to deal with them. Selection statements keywords, we have if, we have else, we have switch, we have case, we have default. Iteration statements, we have for, of, so we have for, in. This comes under iteration statements. And the looping, we have for, while, we have do while, these are looping. Jump statement keywords like break, continue, return, so this comes under jump. Exception handling statements like try, catch, throw, finally, all these comes under exception handling. Technically, these are the JavaScript statements. We will see how we can use these statements one by one. How do we work with them and how do we deal with these statements? So technically, how to handle them and work with them, right? So statements, so selection. First, we will see what is purpose. Already I told you. Purpose is nothing but it is used for controlling the execution flow. We can control the execution flow by using these statements. So let's see first the selection statements. What are the selection statements and how to deal with them? Actually, selection statements are decision making statements. They are used for handling situation according to the conditions defined. In the selection statements, so if selection, actually it is a decision making statement used to handle a set of statements when conditions evaluates to true and another set of statements when condition evaluates to false. Actually, if selection have several forms. Inside if selection, we have a forward jump. We have a forward jump technique. We have simple decision. We have nested decision. And we have multiple choices. So technically, selections if is again classified into several. Forward jump, simple decision, and nested decision, multiple choices. This all comes under that category. We will see one simple example here. Actually, forward jump means we have an if with a condition defined and we have some statements. There will be no alternative. That means these statements will execute only when this condition is satisfied. So these statements will not execute if the condition is not satisfied. And there is no alternative, means no else. That means if true, then only continue. Otherwise, stop. We call this as forward jump. Already we done this. If you remembered, we designed KFC online example. In KFC online example, if you have observed, we designed this example. So if you have observed this example that we created, this is the example that we created. Right, this example we created. And in this example, so you can observe that here we are using a decision making. and there is no else here. That means the meal name, meal cost will be set only when the burger is selected. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, there is no alternative until another is checked. That means if burger is not checked, I don't want to check another. I need to wait until the second one is selected or not. That means there is no alternative here. So all are independent. There is no else written here. So this is the example of forward jump. So already we done that. Forward jump is nothing but a condition to handle with set of statements without alternative. That means the statements will execute only when the condition is true. Condition is true. That is what actually forward jump. Simple decision means it will define a condition. Condition. If condition true, some statements will execute. If condition not true, then we have else. It will execute the statements when condition false. Technically, we generally people when they speak like this: if and else, if and else statement. That is wrong actually. Else is not a statement. You should say if and else clause. If and else clause. You should not say if and else statements. That is wrong in technical point of view. So else is not a statement. Else is a clause to execute if condition not satisfied. If condition satisfied, it will execute the statements in the if block. And if condition not satisfied, it will execute the statements in else block. In else block. So you should never say if and else statement. That is wrong technically. You should say if and else clause, because else is not statement, it is a clause. So it contains the statements to execute when condition is false. Condition is false. So we will see one example. We will see, for example, see how we can manage that. So technically, how we can handle this? We'll go into a simple example. So means statements, how we can handle the statements. So selection statements. Okay, here let's design one example, right? Design a screen here. So doc type HTML head. So title, if selection. Okay. In the body, we just given here a design. So data list, data term, username. So input type is equal to text, ID, txt name. Another data term is password, and data definition, input type is equal to password, and yeah, and ID as txt, pwd, password. And here we have a button, say login. That's the button, login. Okay. Now I will just keep a heading below this. So let's add a div and just keep a heading here and put an ID MSG, and let's keep align center. Okay. So this is a basic design. Now when user clicks on this username and password and login, I need to verify the credentials, whether the user is having the correct ID and password or not. So what we are doing now is here, we are first writing a function on click button, login click. Okay, login click. So here we need to write a script and a function for login click. We have some data, that means var. So users is the data. It is an array. It is an array. In this array, we have username. It's an object. Username is John, and his password is some John12. Similarly, suppose we have another username. So username, so that is David, and the password is David and a dollar, something like this. Now, very important, when user is typing the username and password, it should verify is the same available in our data or not. If it is matching with the data we are having, that means he's already registered and we have his details and we are verifying, then give access, otherwise invalid. That means the username and password both must match. That means, remember, David can log in, John can log in. That means I have to verify all of them. Anyone can match. Then we have to write first here a simple point is, first we need to access the username, where username is equal to document.getElementById txt name dot value. That will get the username entered, where password is equal to getElementById txt pwd dot value. We are collecting username and password. We have to verify are these username and passwords are same in this collection. It may match anyone. So then we have to write a looping statement because we need to read all of them. So we use for where item of, I already told you, we can access the values of an array by using of operator. So users is the data. That means now every user information we can access through this item, or reasonably I am giving user, where user of users. Now we have to verify whether the user is an object that contains username and password. So we have to verify whether the username password are matching with the username password you entered in text boxes. So we need to write a condition here. So if simply user dot username is matching with the username you entered. To make it more convenient to understand, I will make this as txt name and I will make this as txt password. That means think that these are coming from text boxes. So if username is matching with txt name, so double equal, it is matching with this name, and password also should match, then double ampersand. This indicates user dot password is also matching with txt password. That means the username and password that you entered, they are matching with the username and passwords available in the data. If they are available, then what we can do is here we can say success, or temporarily if you want to navigate to some other page, later in JavaScript you are going to learn so other objects. Initially we have an object called location.href. So location object href attribute is used to navigate to any location. So which location? kfc.html, that is the file. That means if username and password are matching, then automatically it will redirect to that location. So in JavaScript, you can go to any page dynamically by using the attribute, by using location href. Location href will take you to that page. If the condition is satisfied, Else, if the condition is not satisfied, then we have to display message inside that MSG. This is the heading we are having. So we will collect that MSG also. So where MSG is equal to get element by ID MSG. That is the heading. Here I need to display MSG dot inner HTML is equal to invalid. So username or password. This message we are giving. Username or password. This is the message we are defining. Now see here the problem here. Now I'm entering the details. Username is David. Password is something wrong. And click login. It says invalid username or password. Suppose I want to display in red color. Then here we can add dot. We can add dot font color. Font color. I can keep red. We can format that. And you can see now. So David and password is wrong. And it will say invalid username password. I entered the password correctly, David12, and click login. It will take us to that particular location. But David password is still wrong because it is David dollar actually. And login, it is taking to that location. That means login successful. If login successful, it automatically navigates to that location, navigates to that particular location. Now, what is problem in this simple decision? See, here the problem is the main key point here is observe here. I'm entering suppose wrong username. So wrong username, some wrong username. I'm entering some wrong username and password. Now it says invalid username password. Here the problem is you are the programmer, so you know it because you know that there is no Raj user. But if a user is doing this and you are showing two messages that invalid username and invalid username or password, then he's confused. Is my username have problem or password? Confused in the messages. That is username problem or password problem. It is confused in that. So that means what we have to do is we have to verify. See, verifying both username and password like this will be not a good thing. Why it is not good thing every time? Because now if both are true, then only it is true. If any one is false, then it returns this else. But the else is confused. That means it is confused to understand that is username problem or password problem. Because any one problem occurs, it will show this message. So for user who is watching, he is confused. Is my username problem or password problem? So that is the reason in such scenarios, if you want to verify everyone independently, and we want to display the relative messages correctly, then what we have to do is we have to better take a nested decision. What is problem in this is if you are checking the condition or and another condition like this, it can have. If you are testing multiple conditions, then one problem is out of all these conditions, which one went wrong? Else is unable to display that properly. So to avoid this, better use nested decisions. Nested decision is nothing but in the nested decision approach, usually what happens is, so in nested decision, it is going to verify every property individually and display a relative message every property individually and display a relative message. That's what it's very important. So that means it has to handle every property individually, every property individually. And once we are doing this, then one more problem will come here is we need to handle that situation also. That means, for example, see now, what we are doing is, this is not the right way. You can do one more thing here. First, to verify only username. Verify username. Let me write the condition clearly again. First, I am verifying if user.username is equal to txt name. If username is matching, okay. If not matching, if username is not matching, then message.innerHTML display that invalid username because username is not matching. Okay. If username is matching, then write another condition. Now verify the password is matching with txt password. If password is matching, if password is matching, if password is matching, if password is not matching, then again else. If password is not matching, msg.innerHTML say invalid password. Invalid password. If password is matching, that means so password, username both are matching, then location dot href is equal to some kfc online dot html. It will navigate to that location. Now this is good. Why? Because if you want to individually notice the problems and we want to individually display those problems, then we can handle this situation. But here some more points we have to understand correctly. So here we are defining this. Now let's run this and see. I'm entering some Raj and some password. Suppose the password I entered is John12. That is the password I entered. Actually, that password belongs to John, but username is not John. Then I click on login, then it says invalid username. That's good. So I said John. Okay, username is correct, but password is not correct. Password is not correct. I removed few characters. Then I click login, then it is not verifying it. Why? Because generally, actually it is correct only, logically correct only, but one small issue is after it has verified the username, it is not able to verify the password because after verifying the username and or displaying the message invalid password, invalid username, it still stays inside this loop only. You see, we are writing an for loop and it is still present inside this loop only. That means after displaying the message, it is not terminating. It is still in the loop. Due to that, what happens is for the next attempt also, it will show the same message. It will not come out of it. It will stay inside it. That is the reason after displaying the message, so whether it is invalid password or invalid username, what terminate, come out of it, then we can use a statement break. We have to use. Break indicates that after displaying the message, terminate this operation so that if any another operation performed, then it will check for another value. Similarly, after verifying, because we don't know which one will be verified first, both should have break. That means after showing password invalid, break, because he may correct the password and sometimes username may be wrong. After verifying username, then again stop. Why? Because it may, remember, this is required only when you are writing in a for loop, because it is still inside the loop, it is not coming out of that loop. And this is nested iteration. This is nested iteration. This is the nested iteration. Now usually what happens is, when we run this, so username is John, but password is something wrong. John user is there, but his password is not what they entered. Then it should say invalid password. Suppose password is correct, like John12, that is the correct password, but username is something wrong, David, and it says login, it says invalid username. So that means it is verifying them. Now it is David and username is David dollar. Then it should get that login. It should get that. So and display that message. That means it should display that option. So David and say David dollar. Yeah. David dollar. Yeah. That is what the password. And it should say it is not showing that. Why again it has to come out somewhere after displaying the username password. This breaking up, right? Have David username and David dollar. Okay, let's check where it is terminating. Yeah, let's put a breakpoint. That means here we will see how we can monitor the issue. All right, we will see how we can monitor the issue. See, what you do is go to inspect. In the inspector here, go to sources. In the sources, our program is this HTML. Open this HTML. So this is the program. In this program, you see here, so this is the function. We will put here, there is a 15 line number. At 15 line number, because here iteration is starting, click there. It will put a breakpoint. So that means it will verify. So it will stop execution there and it will verify. It will stop the execution and it will verify. Technically, it will stop the execution and it will verify. Now what we have to do is we need to just configure this. So that means here we need to specify. Once refresh, okay, and enter the username. So I am entering the username here. So that means we are configuring the username. And this is David. Okay. And we are entering the password. So David dollar. Okay. I clicked on login. It comes here. And you see that user is currently not there. Two users are there. You right side, you move the mouse pointer. You can see two users are here. Right. So it is displaying that the two users are configured there. Okay. Now here what is happening is, so in this here, I will click on at the bottom, you see it stopped there. At the bottom you have step over function. Click on the step over function. Click on the step over function. When I click on the step over function, next step it will come. And see the first user, it is verifying. John and John12, that is verifying. It is verifying the first user. And click on step over, then it says that. So you can see that it is directly displaying this invalid username. Invalid username. Because actually it is verifying. So John and the username is txt David. That means a wrong verification. What it is verifying and what it is having is different actually. See, the user is John and John12. and it is verifying this invalid username, because always it is verifying the first one. It is verifying the first one and it is checking the first one. So this is the issue it is happening. That is the reason invalid username. So then step over, it comes out of it and it will display. It will display that message on login button, click, it is showing invalid. But actually this is, if I say John and I click here, I will refresh that and I type John here and I click on this. That means it is verifying the first one. Always it is verifying the first one, right? Actually it is verifying the first one. Okay. Let's compile this one more time. Yeah. Now I am entering John and the password may be something wrong. So the password may be something wrong. And I click on login and you see here. So step over. It is verifying the first one, John and John 1, 2. It is checking with the username and it is matching with the TXT name. It is checking and matching with the TXT name, right? So when it is verifying that, so checking and verifying that, right? So now observe carefully here. When I click on step over, username is matching. Username is matching, but password is not matching. So that means I click on step over again. So then password is not matching. Then it will go to invalid password. And after displaying invalid password, then it will break. It will break. And it will come out of it. So invalid password is correctly displayed. Invalid password is correctly displayed. But the problem is invalid username is not displayed. Invalid username is not displayed. So that means this is the issue that we are defining. That means first user, it is unable to check. First user, it is unable to check. So it is verifying, it is starting with this first user, right? It is starting with the first user. Yes, this is how generally we debug the JavaScript and identify the problems inside. This is debugging, right? So we are identifying the problems and we are rectifying that problem. Now here, what is the issue happening is, it is verifying the first user. It is verifying the first user every time. I hope everyone understood that. So I am typing here David. So David is correct user, but it is verifying the first user. Step over here, it is verifying the first one. The first one. That means it is starting with the first one. Then always this username will be wrong. Previously, we don't have an issue for this. Previously, we don't have an issue because previously what we have done, we are verifying both of them. Previously, we are verifying both in one attempt. That means it can match with any one of them. I will show you previously also. That means let's change this. Okay, previously what we are doing is txt name double ampersand. So user dot password is equal to txt password, both verified in one line. Then we have, so if it is successful, then location dot href is equal to some kfc online dot html. So else, so we have to display msg dot inner html. Invalid, so username. So username, invalid username or password. Password, this is what we are typing. That means we are configuring in this way, right? Now, when you are defining this, you can observe here, let's refresh this. Some changes happened. Now, we kept the breakpoint there itself, right? If you want to remove, click there. It will be removing the breakpoint. Click, you can add multiple breakpoints also. But one breakpoint is enough here at line number 15. Okay. Now enter here. So David. And here we are defining some password is wrong. Then I click on login, and you can see that it comes into this loop. And when I click on step over, you can see that it is having John and John 1, 2. It is verifying for that. And if it is not matching, because both has to match. First one is not matching, second one also not matching. Then what happens is it will say invalid username password, invalid username password, and come out. Right, because the second one is not matching. Second one is not matching. Okay, I will do one thing. Refresh this again. I entered David. So password also matching. David dollar. I'm entering that also here. And click on login. It comes here. I click step over. Now you can see that it is verifying. It is verifying with user John and John 1, 2. And here I will click on step over. Username is John, TXT is David. It's not matching. And this also not matching. So this is also not matching. So it will click on step over. Now see, it shows invalid username and password. It has to get that invalid username and password. Next step, again, it has to verify that. This time this is verifying. Still it is not coming out of the loop. Remember, it is displaying that it is not coming out of the loop. It is verifying second one. That is username is this. Click on next step. What happens now? It is second one is verified. When second one is verified, then what happens is, so it says success. It will go to the KFC form. That is what is concerned for general people is, sir, it showed invalid username password. It is verifying first one. It is verifying first one, but it is, we are using breakpoint. That is the reason it is saying that first user always verified with first user. It will display invalid username and password. After that, it is not stopping. It will continue to check the second one also. Due to this, what happens for us? We cannot see the message invalid username and password for the first one it has shown to us. That means every and it got invalid username and password, but it is not stopping there. It is continuing to the second one.
Hello.
When it is continuing to the second one, that means second one is matching. That is the username password of first one. And it will continue to the second one. So whether to continue or to break. So this is where our entire logic depends here. So that means, so it is verifying the second one. So after the first one only, this will be a little bit problems. We should not verify the first one if it is matching with the second one. That is the reason we have to use a switch here. Initially observe here. If I am writing multi-level condition, if so user dot username is matching with username is matching with txt name, that is matching with txt name. Then verify here user dot password with txt password. Verify with password. If username and password, if username is matched, then then location dot href is equal to, so kfc online dot html. It should go to that location. If password is not matching, then message should display. So message dot inner html should display invalid password. So if username is not username is having a problem, then message should display. That means we have to write the conditions. So this is okay. That means this is else. This is the if condition, right? If username is not matching, then display another message. So here msg.innerhtml. Here you display invalid user, invalid username. That's how we need to handle multi-level conditions. Now, when you are handling multi-level conditions, the main point is you are verifying is username problem or password problem. But here also it will verify every condition one by one. That is the reason. So when we are not using, so the breakpoints, the breaks here, observe carefully. When we are typing here, the username, that means I am defining. So suppose say David, and some password is wrong, then it says invalid password. Suppose I said David dollar, that means I am entering the username password correct, then it will log in. It is working fine. That means you don't need to break if you don't need to break if you want to continue to the next one also. But this situation is not good every time. So generally what should happen is, if I will show you another example where we will see multi-level more than 2, 3, then obviously we have to break the statement and continue to the next one. That means now it is working fine. So we don't need any breaks here. But when you are specially writing in a looping statements, so and you are continuing to the next step, so then we have to use the breaks. Break. What is break? What is continue? Important. This a loop here. This is an iterator. What is difference between a loop and iterator? I will tell you in the next sentence, next concept we are going to discuss. This is not loop. Generally, loop have a condition, loop have an initialization, and loop have a counter. This is not loop, this is iterator. In iterator, it will start from the first and it will end at the last. So if there are items to read, it will read, otherwise it will stop. That means this is multi-level conditions here, multi-level conditions. So this is nested. So if you want to verify everything individually, then better. So you go with nested. If you want to verify all at a time, then you can write the previous approach. That means simple decision so is used when you want to verify all at a time. And multi visually and return the relative messages. That is the difference between simple and net. Every statement individually. All statements together you want to verify, you can go with a simple one. So then when you need multiple choices, we will see that. So multiple choices means, suppose I want user to log in with username or mobile number. He logged in with username or whether it is logged in with mobile to verify that. And that you can do by using nested conditions. So and by using multiple choices. How to define such multiple choices, we will see with example. That we'll see in our next session, right? So tomorrow we will create one real, then you will get more clarity. So one simple example we will implement there. Then tomorrow we'll continue with this. Okay, right? Yeah.